All right, welcome back, everybody. Now, if you've been following along, you made a couple questions, maybe more than two, and we got it where you got your search screen, you pick a question, and then you get go to the next question, and in our events, sorry, in our actually we have this game manager that kind of helps us with pieces of that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump in here. Now the game manager is set to help you with the buttons piece. What we're going to do is we're going to create another empty game object, and we're going to call it game variables. Okay, so we're going to do game variables, and what we're going to do in this set is we're going to it's going to keep track of everything we're going to do in this game, and it's going to also allow us to just pass it from one scene to the next. So we're not touching anything else. We would do that with the game manager, but it's not always where the first button is correct. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. So we're just going to do it to the game variable section. That does mean you got to put check answer script into every single game. You could also make the game manager an actual prefab that you could just throw in. That way you could change it in every scene. So if I went to prefab and I said, hey, you know what? I am going to create a new prefab and I'm going to call it game manager. I could actually just dump this in there. And then now I could use this in each question if I wanted to. Okay. So going back to this, what we're going to do is we need to do a little bit of work in getting the timer done and the score. And we're also going to keep track of what the number of questions right we have as we go. So let's first work on our timer. So we're going to go to scripts. I'm going to make a new JavaScript and I'm going to call it timer. And I'm just going to go ahead and open that up. And now that I'm in here, what we're going to do is we're just going to add a variable called time remaining, or yeah, remaining. And then we're going to do that as a float, and that equals to 60. Oops, 60 seconds, I guess. It could be a minute, 10 minutes, whatever you want to do. And then we're going to do a text as well. So time left, and that's going to be text. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. And the important piece about this is you're able to change it once you have it on the in the variable section. So I'm just going to drag this. I'll click on variables, drag this over. If I want to change that to 100, I can. It's right there. Okay, so let's go back in here, and in the update set, we're going to get to use what we call time delta time, which allows us in game to keep track of actual time that's passed since the game started. So what we're going to do is go time remaining minus equals, because we're going to minus that time with time dot delta time. Okay, and just to show you what's going on, I'm going to do a debug.log of time remaining just to show you what the output is. So let's do this and go to console. You're going to see the numbers counting down. Okay, so that's what's going on right now. Let's go back here. We don't necessarily need to put it in the debug all the time, so I'm just going to comment it out. You could delete it if you want. And then what we're going to do is we need to associate a string to this. And in order for us to do that correctly, what we're going to do is we're just going to do time left is dot text is equal to, and we're just going to floor it with a mathf function in Unity, and time remaining, all it does is just rounds it for us and do a toString. Now I kind of jumped the gun here in terms of this statement because we set this as a text, but we don't have it here yet. This is why you're gonna see, oh well, what's going on here? I need to have a capital T for toString. Okay, so now that should hopefully go away. There we go. Cool. All right, so what we need to do is create a text. Now, what we'll do is just right click and we're going to say create text. Let's call it timer. Oops, get rid of caps. Timer. I'm going to just put it up here. And I'm actually just going to do 30. No need for that. Okay, cool. Now, if I go back to variables and drag this over, I should be able to hit play, and now I have a timer. So very straightforward, simple timer. Okay. Now, this is just part of the piece that we need to do. We also need to make sure that when we go to the next level, we carry over our variables and our number of questions and things like that. So, or how many we have, right? So what we're going to do is make a new script, call it game variables. I'm going to open that up. And let's start with the very obvious first. We want to make sure we keep track of how many are correct, right? And we also want to know how the number of questions. Those are the two that we do. And this code is going to allow us to do something really cool, which is it's called don't destroy on load. So what this does is it just says, hey, when you go to the next scene, don't destroy me, right? And I said this because this is referencing, this script is going to say, oh, let's drag this over. This script is going to say, hey, whatever object I'm on, do not destroy me, okay? So we could go in here, add 10 questions. Okay, so if I hit play and I get the first question right, notice how game variables went over. I did get an error because I have a text error, but this is how that gets passed to the next level, okay? Now, the error is saying text has been destroyed, but you're trying to access it. And that is true because that text is right here. And don't destroy on load only does game objects. So if it's inside a game object, like it is inside a canvas, you can't save that. But technically you can by adding a new canvas. So what we're going to do is go to UI. First, click on game variables. Right click, go to UI. And then we're going to go to canvas. And then we're just going to drag the timer in here. So we have this right here. And now I'm going to hit play. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, you see right here, the text is going. It's just not showing here. And the problem with that is it's with layering. If you have multiple canvas elements, you have to get, if they're on the same level, the first one there pretty much gets shown. So we're just going to change this to 1 and hit save. Right here, the sort order. And I'm going to hit play. And now I have my timer back. Now if I click in the next level, see I'm in second question, my timer is still going, and these objects got carried over. So this is kind of how you start carrying over certain variables and things like that. Okay? So now that we have that piece taken care of, let's work on, let's add another text item. And this one's going to be for the score. So I'm going to call it score. All right, so just to help us out, I'm going to just do score in the text. Let's change it to 30 because that's what I used from before. Let's kind of, there we go. Let's widen this up a bit. Okay, cool. That way, at least when I go in here, I get the score shown. I click here and I go to, and then the score is still there. Okay, so now that we have that taken care of, what we want to do is we just kind of want to make sure we click on this button, save the variable into the game variables, number of correct, and then we want to display this. Okay, majority of our code's under check answer, and that's kind of where we're going to do a majority of our stuff. Now, in order for us to get values saved into the game variables object, we're gonna have to create a couple variables here. And so let's create our first. We're gonna call it variable game variable script, and it's called game variables. Okay, and and then we'll need the score text here. So that's called score. So we're just gonna call it var score text equals text. All right, and then this is where we're gonna do our game variable script equals game object dot find, and the name of the game object is game variables dot get component, and it's called game variables. Okay. Now I don't have to name the actual script name the same as the actual script of that's in there. I just did that just so then it all has the same name. You necessarily don't even have to do that. It is up to you, and so you could call this anything you want. Okay. So now the next piece is that we're gonna go and assign our text. So we're gonna say score text equals game object dot find, and then we're gonna it's called score dot get component, and we're gonna get the text. Okay, so now we have the text and the game variable script. So now in here we have it where we're just saying, hey, add 1 if you're right. If not, just go to the next level. Okay, so we need to do a couple things here. First thing we need to do is move this correct number into our game variables section where we have it as correct right here. So what we're going to do is say game variable script dot correct equals correct. All right, so if I hit save and actually played this, okay, let's see. System dot score text game object. Okay, the reason why I got an error here is I made a mistake up here, and once I do that, I should be good. There we go. Yay! Sometimes these things are not necessarily in the line it states it is. And I should have cleaned this up a little bit better. But anyways, so now that we have that going, what we have is the text and everything kind of set. So here, right now we kind of have it where to say, hey, the correct answer is what's getting passed. So here we have correct is 0. I click on this, it becomes 1. If I go back and do it again, and I click on the wrong answer, it doesn't get implemented, right? So this is exactly how we want it to do. Now the last thing we need to do is just actually visibly show this score. So what we're going to do is score text dot text, and that equals score space and then plus. I'm going to cheat and I'm just going to say correct because we're in the same script. It's all the same number. So we're going to actually, it might be a different number. So game variable script dot correct dot to string, because we want to make it into a string. And then we're going to add, and I like to add spaces because you don't want it too crammed. And then game variable script dot number of questions dot to string. Okay, so now if we did all this right, we're going to go back here, hit play, and get an error. All right. Oh, well, I got to spell script right. So there's that. So there's that long string right there that we're entering in. And then I'm going to hit play. And now if I go to next, I get 1 out of 10. Yay! Do it again and get it wrong. Yay, 0 out of 10. Now the thing is, there's a couple of things you can do with the actual score at the beginning. You could just take it off. That way then it only shows up after you go the first time, right? Or what you can do is actually put the score and do 0 space 0 out of 10, right? Because right now you have 0. And then you could just say, okay, cool, right? And it's going to go. Now, the thing this example doesn't have is number of questions, like, you know, other kind of UI elements that you can add to this. But this is very basic, straightforward in terms of, you know, just adding functionality, getting used to button scripts, referencing scripts within others. The big piece is you also learned how to, you know, find objects in scripts and then how to utilize those variables. So now you can put your JavaScript into play in a little bit faster version. And hopefully this 3 tutorials that you watched will help you get a little bit ready for the game jam this upcoming weekend.